all the of uncles, aunts are all gone now. So my generation is now the eldest in their family. So cousins and people like that. Most of my cousins are older than me, but we're sort of the elders in the family sort of thing. But we don't stay in touch, and we haven't done that because we used to talk to the uncles and aunts, not to each other. So I'm realizing that I need to start doing something proactively to connect with them. I have a younger brother, and we talk randomly, not intentionally, not committed stuff. And I think like that's something I need to do too, because it's easy sometimes when you're next to somebody in the same town to go visit them. Although that one can be interesting too, because sometimes you make more effort with somebody's further away than somebody who's next door.
Yeah.
So there's no real reasoning of saying, if it's this much distance, you should be doing this. It's like, no, stay connected, period.
So are they on Facebook?
My brother is, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, no, one of my cousins is.
Maybe you can do a little Facebook group and go live in there. And, at least you have the memories and the thoughts. Because, video is just an amazing thing. And I always, like even my dad, I make him do Snapchats, which I posted last time. We haven't done it yet. But, it's like those little things really soothe you when you really need to hear somebody that's gone or not close. And I think it really helps your psyche, for the lack of better words, to have that, because, sometimes you just need to laugh, and having those memories are great things to have.
Oh, you know what? Just if you're going to do video, you may as well just turn it into a podcast. We'll all watch it. It'll be the Selby siblings. That'll be the name of the show. We're all going to sit and watch it, and you'll be like the new Kardashians.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, yeah, I'm right.
Over the pond.
Do it over pizza. do like a pizza big thing every week, so you have the Selby siblings sharing slices on Sunday.
That's seven.
I had some elderly clients, and they had a scheduled time every Sunday night to have all their family show up on a Zoom call. And they would get in front of the screen at 6:00 on a Sunday, and all the aunts and uncles, cousin, whoever was invited. So they just threw it out there. And I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think that is and they loved it. They looked forward to it. When you're elderly, it changes, you feel more lonely. Like, my client, he said that when COVID hit, he was really hoping that was going to take him out, because he didn't want to be there anymore because he was lonely. And when they share that with you, it just breaks your heart. And he was like, "I'm serious." He goes, "I really want to make a call to my cardiologist." He was a doctor. He goes, "I really want to kill my cardiologist, and he died 10 years ago." He kept me alive this whole time, But that's what it is. Is he didn't have his mobility, but his wife had dementia. So they were both battling with two different things. Her body was okay, but her mind wasn't, And so when you're elderly, it changes, how you think about a lot of things. And they were my client, meaning I went there and had dinner with them like every weekend. And I have to say that was the most enriching time for me. Like, I learned they were missionaries. They lived over in Malaysia and Africa. They had all of these awesome adventures that they told, and so I couldn't wait to go see them. Actually, they were authors on books. They were both doctors. She was the first doctor in Washington State to graduate, being a physician. Wow. So just. You have to, and I thought I was just going to help them with dinner, and I said to their daughter at one point, she was adopted and Chinese. And she said, "You just love doing this." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I almost feel like I need to pay you for me to go do this." Like, seriously. Cause that the time was enriching, and it's like, we have to do better with the elderly, I think. And that's just something I feel like we have to do better. We have to, I went to nursing homes since I was, this high. My grandmother used to make me go with her. And now, then I had Irish dance troops that we took to visit. And I just feel like we need to do better.
Well,
Yeah.
well, my dad 2 years ago when I saw him, his dog had passed away. I think like 6 months prior for me visiting, and he was pretty sad. And then after I left, my sister brought him a little dog, and he is so cute. I should upload pictures before I'm done here, but I'll show him sometime. He's so cute. But what was cool was I have video of my dad's other dog. He had character a lot. And we actually were able to watch the video. My dad just was smiling and laughing and having a good time. And it was great. You know, he could think of how joyful, but this dog brings him just as much joy. He's a Chihuahua and Jack Russell mix. He is smart and rambunctious and so damn cute and just lovable, just lovable. So, and I haven't heard from Mr. Hipster.
Well, it's interesting. I had a friend who did a retreat at his ranch in Arkansas this last weekend, and a number of people were commenting what a great event it was, and how much they learned and how they opened up and a variety of different things. And it was cool to hear of his genius at work through other people, relating all the good that he had done. And so this afternoon I called him. I didn't anticipate getting a hold of him. I did not, but I left him a nasty message. And I left him a very nice message, congratulating him on, how many people were just sharing the experience that they had this weekend. And I think it's interesting. And then I called another friend who just, he said, man, we've got to do things together. We just got to do things together. And I said, cool. And he said, I know that's not why you called me, but we just need to do things together. And I said, okay, let's do it. So it's interesting when you reach out and there's no strings attached and you just have a really nice conversation or a congratulatory thing, or just hey, you're not as big a schmo as everybody thinks you are, kind of talk, whatever it is, anywhere along the way, it's amazing what can happen. And I wasn't here last week because I was on an airplane coming back. I'd been on the road for a week, and it was just different, being in different cities, being with different people, being around a different environment away from the office. And like, there was not a camera or a microphone to look into and talk to. It was, you're actually talking to a person. And it was almost like the old days. It was kind of cool. It's something we should remember. I think back in the, as everybody started talking, what it reminded me of is how different we were after September 11th as a people. We just came together so close. Didn't matter who was who or what was what, but we came together for a pretty significant period of time. And then I think with the pandemic, we got separated. And again, I remember from the early stages, somebody said, "Are you social distancing?" And I said, "Absolutely not. I will physical distance, but I will not social distance in the least."
Yeah.
And I think that unfortunately too many people did. They listened to the bullshit, and they did that and moved away from people. And then it created such divisiveness, such polar opposites on things. And I don't think we've come back from that, quite frankly. I think we just got to be a whole lot nicer to people and treat people with respect, honor, and dignity, and get this thing back together and realize we're human beings. We're designed to be relational. We're designed to be together and in conversation. And as much as the video conferencing is wonderful, and as much as this is now an extension of our reach because we don't have to be in the same city to do it, you still need to do it in your own city. You need to do it where there are other people, and you got to be close together. It's just the way we're made. And I think that that's one of the things that will bring a whole lot of joy back to a lot of different people if we would just come back together.
I love that. And we're all different places. And I've friends now, all these places. I haven't talked to my neighbor in 5 years.
Yeah.
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 I mean, this is where we're losing out.
Yeah.
Technology is allowing us to reach across the globe, but we can't reach across the lawn or over the fence.
And it's sad. The only time you'll probably reach out to your neighbor, and I don't want it to be that way, but I'm just saying it's sad when people go to somebody's funeral, and guess what? You're there, but they're not there still. So you're still disconnected.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think the extension of it is wonderful. And having friends, I was on a call the other day. One woman was from New Zealand, one was from Australia, one was from the Netherlands, and they all said I talked funny. That was just wrong. But it was one of those kind of things. And that's really, that's really cool.
We really didn't want to bring it up. I mean,
that part's really cool. Well, we had that a weekend ago, right, Rex, with some Romanian friends.
Right.
But the point is that I agree with you, Scott. We've traded distance for familiarity and for being up close and personal, and
intimacy is gone.
It really is, and it makes a huge difference in the overall feel of so much. I just think we should focus on getting back to that.
Well, can I add something that's just
yes.
lovely and brilliant, and very brilliant? And thank you. I mean, everybody's made some really excellent points. The technology, the first thing I'll say, shouldn't replace human contact. It should only extend human contact. I keep telling people I hate texting, and they're like, "Well, why do you hate texting?" Because I'd rather hear you or see you or talk to you in person. If there's a need to text, like I'm at a concert and it's really loud and I need to use the bathroom or we've got to go, I'm happy to text you because we can't hear. There are reasons to text, but they shouldn't replace everyday forms of contact, communication, and connection. Now, I have a very different take on COVID than maybe a lot of people. I loved the lockdown. It didn't bother me at all. That said, one of the reasons was that we were all in the same boat. Everybody was locked down. You couldn't do anything about it except be on technology. Here's where I think a lot of the problem is when the lockdown ends, some of those isolated people are still isolated, and there's no excuse now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the huge.
That's right.
You're far lonelier if the world opens up and you got nowhere to go and no one comes to see you, than if you're all locked down, in your own places and can't get together anyway. So, I don't know that COVID, I think the politics over COVID, as well as the political climate and stuff around the world, has made us a little bit different than we were, say, right after 9/11, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I would agree completely that the lockdown had much to do with that, but it could have. But I do know that since the lockdown has opened up, if there are events, like the other day, I went to the dog park with the dogs, and it was very, very hot. And I thought, I'm going to go to the lakefront and I'm going to just enjoy that with the dogs and cool down. And when we got there's a huge beach party. It's just, I forgot there was a festival going on. The roads were all shut down. And I thought, well, okay, if I get a parking spot like that, I'm in. Boom, I got the first parking spot opened up. I was there. Well, okay, now I'm going to walk the dogs to the thing. I walked them through hundreds and hundreds of people. They were the most well-behaved dogs. They were better than I could have ever imagined. I didn't expect them to be as good as they were, but I surely didn't expect them to not be good, because they are good. People love them. People would look down and go, "Oh my God, dog," and all this. So I went and I sat on a bench. Actually, I went and I got a beer and I went and sat on the bench. And with the dogs. And people came up and sat on the bench and talked, and I spent 2 or 3 hours there. And then I thought, well, let's go, and walk back through the crowd, back to the car. And I was reluctant to leave. I was like, girls, we should stay. We could be here all night, because it was fun. I met strangers. We had a wonderful time. They loved the dogs loved them. Occasionally someone who had a little bit too much drink would come up and go, "Oh, doggies, that's so cool," but it was delightful. And there are too many people who don't get to experience delight and fun and connection and enjoyment, and they don't talk to strangers because strangers don't talk to them. And I mean, if you have a dog, it's a great way to start conversations, but not always, because as I say, and every person may deserve a dog, but not dogs don't deserve some of the people they get. So.
True. Yeah.
Rex, not to
Sandy,
interrupt.
somebody just broke into your house. You might want to turn around. Somebody just broke into your house.
Sandy needs to get going. So, Sandy, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate and love you. Thanks for sharing that story. Love you.
I would love to hear from Kellen Ann. We haven't heard from her yet. And with Rex's dog story, I mean, it kind of ties in with somebody's got a book. Somebody's got a book, and it's got something to do with dogs. There we go.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's funny that you guys mentioned the dogs and the seniors being alone, because for the last 11 years, I have a nonprofit where I place senior pugs with senior citizens.
Wow.
Yeah.
And my whole philosophy behind it was seniors don't want a puppy because they can't keep up with it. They need a dog that just wants to sit in a lap and be pet, because they are not ambitious by any means. And I always promise, and if they couldn't afford it, I have a fund that will pay for vet bills or food, or because a lot of times seniors are on fixed budgets and they can't afford a dog. And then the last problem is when they pass away and the dog's still there, the family gets stuck with the dog, and they have to sign an agreement to give the dog back to me so that I can rehome it, so that it doesn't end up at a pound. So
you need T-shirts. You need T-shirts that say "Pugs, not drugs." I like that. We need T-shirts.
I love that, Scott. That's awesome.
It's made me want to start sloths for seniors.
There you go. As long as they're lazy, they're perfect. My neighbor called me the other day. She goes, "Your gate's wide open." I said, "I have pugs. They're not going to run away."
It would take too much effort.
But if we can talk about the family thing, is something that I had to come to terms with is all I have left is my brother and my nieces. And my brother and I have been estranged for, I don't even know how long. And I always had the label that family was blood. And I thought, boy, family sucks, because he was, I couldn't count on him for anything. And then I have this circle of support that I created without even realizing I created this circle of support. And these people were more family to me than my family. Yeah. So and it's just recently that I've come to terms with the fact that my family is not my blood.
You're my sister, Kellen.
And you were in the circle then. I mean, and then when I went to Europe last 2 weeks ago, I mean, I met all the people that I met online during COVID. God. Every 5 years, okay?
They change those out.
You do. They
every
rotate.
4 year, according to Barry.
It's every leap year. That's the whole point by leap years. They got time to do it.
You got what, the extra day to move it, or what?
Exactly.
Oh, and so the people that I met there were
Thank you, Tim.
Like I've been talking to them for 2 years, like weekly, and I'm like, this is like family has been redefined for me over the past 2 years.
Yes,
that's all I have to say.
I love that.
I think that's a big part of, again, coming out of COVID. It was such it's not really COVID, coming out of the lockdown, coming out of lack of interaction with people, face to face, that personal interaction. I think that a lot of things changed, and people fell into habits one way or the other. If they weren't very responsive to people, they're probably less responsive now, and if they were responsive, they're probably more responsive. They fell into what they were anyway. But I mean, I just think when we go forward, from this point, you start to realize the other thing is, as we get more mature, code word for older, the fact is you start to see a whole bunch of different things differently. I mean, yeah, I've had my physical stuff and come flying through it and feel great about it. But talking to other people, I had a friend who just had a surgery, is like, he's not doing so great. And you go, God, he's younger than I am. That's bullsh. I don't, I don't need to hear any of that, you know? And so, I mean, it's interesting that, you know, it's, I think a big part of it is the activity and the young at heart kind of thing.
Mhm.
You don't, I mean, if you feel your age, you probably got a problem.
You know, I have this problem. I watch football games, and I think the football players are older than me. Serious. I never ever think of them as younger, like 40 years younger than I am. I always think, oh, these old guys are,
Their joints certainly are.
well, yeah. But one of the things that occurred to me while we were talking about all this, and I love the dogs because, the dog talk about supplying these pugs for people is that there's such a trade-off. When you pet a dog, you feel better, but when you care for a dog, not only do they feel better, but you feel better because you're caring, and then they care and they reciprocate to you. I think one of the reasons why people are thrilled with grandkids, and I'm not the only reason, but they're not theirs. They don't have to take care of them 24 hours a day, all week long. But they get to care. They get to interact. They get the experience of having
Spoil them.
Well, right, a reciprocal thing. You get to have children that aren't your children. You don't have the problems. You just have the joys, essentially. So, if we started to just think in terms of what we could do to help other people feel better more of the time,
Yeah.
and the kind of events and circumstances that might allow, especially shut-ins or people who are homeless or people who aren't connected or people who have lost relatives recently or something like that, to be able to connect in some ways. So it's like when people take animals to hospitals, so that people they heal faster.
Yeah.
So,
The grandkids are great. I like to fill them up on Dr. Pepper and candy and then send them home. It's one of the few joys we have. Kelly Ann made a point about creating this new family, and you choose them. And, that's my I call it, we create our tribes. We create our tribes with what we do and where we go and who we connect with. And a lot of people who feel like they're alone just aren't present and looking around to see that they're really not. There's times when I've gone through hard times where I've kind of like thought, I don't have anybody, but I'm interacting with dozens and dozens and dozens of people each day, and they're calling me and they're texting me and I'm talking to them, but I'm not being present enough to really understand that's a real relationship.
Yeah.
I am not alone. I am separating myself up here. It's not real out there. The separation is happening up here for me. And I had to recognize that and say, okay, just let this go. Let the gate down and start talking.
At 7 years old, I lost my grandmother. At 15, I lost a best friend in high school or middle school. And the thing is that what people don't understand is I thought, okay, people can relate. They're losing people through COVID. Like shake up and wake up that we're not going to leave here alive. We're going to all die. However, I was hoping that people would take it seriously, and the reality that it is, if you value somebody, because I've seen so many people at funerals that really there's so many regrets. I mean, we have regrets because we don't do things in our lives, but the regret of not contacting somebody and making sure the relationship is good so that when they go to the next chapter, I see more people have resentment and sadness and regret. And I don't know what else to say to shake up people, that people should be doing videos. People should be connecting one way or another to ease what is the inevitable.
So one of those things is we have that technology. And the thing is, technology is a great support, not a great replacement.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is very relevant about, when you're in person, make the effort. Because the thing is, a lot of people nowadays are standing next to each other with a face planted in their phone. They're not looking at each other anyway. So remember that technology adds to, doesn't replace things. Second thing,
I had my two kids in the living room watching a movie together, texting each other in the same room, in the same freaking room. Great movie. LOL. I love it. LOL. We can't even say ha ha anymore. We have to type LOL. We don't even know how to laugh anymore.
Well, it's just like when I met Barry. I hugged him and gave him a massage, on his shoulders, and I just hugged him, and I hope he always remembers that forever, because it was just great to meet him in person, even though we only had couple hours. Barry, but you know that meant
was
a
that
lot
you?
to me. You know, it's just it's.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. No, but the thing is,
You met a lot of my other friends too.
Indeed. No, when I speak to though, being there of relationships, one of the things that happens for people in relationship oftentimes, I don't know if it's necessarily happening more now than it used to, is that in relationships, people get comfortable once they've gotten past a certain point after the honeymoon's over, and they get lazy. And oftentimes couples communicate less than they do with their outside friends, even the same physical house. So if you're in a relationship, if you're watching this and you're in a relationship, or anybody who's already in a relationship, make the choice to connect, to commune, to be intimate. I don't mean sex necessarily. I'm talking about having the intimate connection with somebody where you can actually connect with them heart to heart, or hug them, look in their eyes. Do it with your partner. Start there at least. Because most people in a relationship skip that. They've given up on it. They didn't do it for the last 15 years. So if you do that with your partner, definitely do it with your friends to find connections with people you really trust. I'm grateful that once a week I go to my spiritual center on Sundays. It's church, but not church. But I see people that most of them I haven't seen in 3 or 4 years, but the connection is like it was never gone.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's my touchstone for me, is remembering that. So there are ways of doing things that we forget sometimes. And sometimes it is the thing where you get to have someone you connect to so well that you don't have to see them every single minute, but when you connect, you really do connect.
Absolutely.
Intimacy changes. When you first get married and you first get together, you have sex all over the house and it's very intimate and everybody's crazy. After a couple of years, you're just in the bedroom and it's just like Saturday nights, Justin. But then you reach that point in your relationship where it becomes hallway sex. That's where you pass each other in the morning and say, screw you.
Or you have sex all over the house, but by yourself. Yes.
Oh,
I'm not talking about that.
Well, maybe in this book you do. Whoops, what? That's not what I wanted.
Wrong book.
wrong book.
Wrong
Oh my
book.
God. Oh, wrong book.
Wrong book.
There you go.
Or you could say that sucks. What now? Yeah, show that
Oh,
last.
that was perfect to follow that comment. That was talk about sex. But, in different stages of life, like you were just sharing, what happens for some people in new relationships versus when they go on for a while. Well, the same thing is true. I mean, think about it. You went to school, you went to college, you graduated, maybe you dated, you met somebody, and you were out either as a single looking for, people to connect with, or you were married and you had friends and couples. And then comes a time in your life where people start to drift apart. They start to raise their kids. They're not out everywhere. If you're divorced or you're widowed in some fashion and you're going out, you're 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, you're finding people who are 20 and 30 years old who are out and all connected. They don't have any need for you, unless you know what I mean? I mean, in other words, people get displaced because the network that they are in changes, and then they can get isolated, and then again be alone, whether they're alone as a couple or whether they're alone as as a single person. So it is important for people to be able to, one, reach out to the lonely, but also for the lonely person to find ways to reach out, and I know that like meetups and things like that, might provide a way to connect, some cooking classes or YMCA classes or, whatever, where you can go out and you can just meet people around your own age. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a love fest, or
I just heard about Meetup the other day. So Rex, are you on Meetup or something?
No. I mean, I think I went to one.
Not a big thing in Montana.
It was like what?
I was just asking Glenn if it was not a big thing in Montana.
Oh, no, I mean, I went to a vegan.
Hey, 24 people live in Montana. Half of them are related.
Oh no,
it really doesn't.
Good.
All good.
No, we're getting close to wrap up here or whatever, but I mean, I love how this topic just went on different tangents and different things about relationships and friendships, and it just I'm informed that I'm moving to Colorado.
Lots of meetups there.
Yeah, and Tim says, I've been hosting meetups for 12 years, currently host 3 of them each month. That's so cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been asked to go on Meetup. I just was like, what is that, dating site or something? I don't know. She swears to me it's not, but I don't know.
No, it's not.
No.
It's not. They have different kinds of things. When you asked me if I went to a meetup, I went to one, and it was like a vegan, try vegan, eat dining or something like that. I was like the only non-vegan there at the time, and they were all lovely, and I met some people and stuff like that. We had a nice dinner, but I mean they have it for all sorts of different age groups and functions, and I don't want to use the word affairs and mislead Scott Jones, but
Sounds like a great strategy to get all the meat at a dinner like that. Very well played.
Great. That's good. Yeah.
Very well played.
Well played.
Well, what
I
was
know what
funny
Scott's
was,
going to do after.
some people can be religious about their practices, and they say, "Are you a vegan?" And I go, "No," and they were still accepting me. They could have gone, "Leave, heathen," but they didn't. They were, they were very lovely. It was a nice time.
Good. But again, that's the thing. How are you going to make friends if you're not a friend yourself? So. And I think that because, you do have friends that say, well, the phone works 2 ways. They won't call. They want you to call and that kind of stuff. So
it works 3 ways.
There you go. I like that.
Why don't we ask Tim, if he's still paying attention, to tell us the 3 different kinds of meetups that he has? Because if he hosts 3, he might be able to chime in or to put something in the chat that we could.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Oh, and the pugs are going. They don't want to be forgotten. I hear them.
Yeah, I really like where Rex took this. Where Rex took this at the beginning when he talked about showing up and there's a festival going on, and then he still just went and sat, and he was amongst people, and he started talking to people, and I think we're missing that too. I think that little sense of adventure that when we show up and we see strangers, we want to get back in our car. Make sure all the doors are locked before we pull out of the parking lot. Make sure nobody follows us home. I mean, we just, there's almost a paranoia in the culture about being around new people and meeting people. So I think how Rex told the story about showing up with the dogs, and then you just become a part of it. You don't even want to leave.
Right.
How cool is that? If we had more of that, I think we'd be a lot better off.
Internet marketers, coaches.
Meetup folk.
Well, look at
Cool.
that. I mean, you go from coffee to
Very
marketing to, coaches.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing for all of us, I have a lot of celebrity friends, right? And many of them who were single, young or old, worry about connecting with somebody because they go, I don't know if they're, I mean, this is true for anybody who knows anybody, but they go, I don't know if they want me for my money or for my fame or for this or for that. I mean, there's, so they're suspicious. And it's one thing to be suspicious. It's another thing to get cynical, and then shut completely down because of it. So the challenge for us as you age, or the challenge for us in this day and age, is to, where lock your doors and worry about everything, and that is to not be cynical and to still be open, to not be gullible and to not be stupid about things, but to go out and have fun and be willing to have fun and be willing to delight yourself and surprise yourself and get out of the comfort zone whenever you can, because if you just stay in your comfort zone, you're going to find anything different. So, meet new people, but don't do it in dark alleyways looking for a score. Do it, do it in well-lighted places, that are chaperoned, for God's sake. I mean,
yes.
Well, you just described how I met 2 of my wives.
In well-lighted places and chaperoned?
Yeah, let's.
No, the other one.
Oh,
the other one.
He's the reason why I put cautions to ladies. You gotta watch and look around your surroundings and don't be foolish.
And I just want to say thanks, Tim, for posting.
Yes, thank you, Tim.
Yeah, thank you, Tim.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, and do the wrap around there, babe.
Yeah, I think it's time we give everybody a minute and a half, 2 minutes, whatever they need to kind of wrap this up. We've talked about friends and family. It's really, we've turned this, I think the conversation really has leaned a lot more towards making connections with people, whether they're people that are already in our lives that we've lost connection with, or just taking a chance and meeting new people. We can't live scared. I can't say can't, because anybody can do whatever they want to do. You want to live scared? Live scared. Don't bitch about it if that's what you choose, though. If you want to meet people, go where people are.
Something new.
What's that?
Scare yourself into doing something new.
Yes.
Like if I don't do it, it's going to be really scary. But if I do it, it might be comfortable and wonderful.
Yeah. Sitting alone in your living room, eating Pringles in your boxers is not where you want to meet people. That's not.
Are you sure?
Yeah, who said?
Anybody who walks through my living room when I'm doing that is not somebody I want to be with.
Says who?
We're the man cave generation, right?
I'm counting on the UPS man.
I've said before, you know what? In the old days, the man cave, my dad's house, where we lived, that was the man cave, the whole house. Now we're down to, if you're lucky, you get the garage, and you're afraid that it's heated, But really, I just get out there. There's beautiful people out there to meet, and there's people out there that are waiting to meet you. Everyone has gifts to give, and if you're sitting around not sharing your gifts with people, you're not just missing out. You're kind of robbing their experiences too. Yeah. Go out and share of yourself. I guarantee there's people out there for everybody. I'm not saying there's one person for everybody. There are tribes for everybody. There are tribes of people. Dungeons and Dragons would not exist unless they found their tribes. So that's all I can say for my part is, get up off your ass, go do something, go be somewhere, and see what happens. What is the worst thing that's going to happen? Somebody's going to say, I don't like you? Oh, well. That sucks. What now? Then you go home and you have sex all over the house with no one. All right, who's next?
And then you wag your tail.
Barry.
You wag more.
You wag more.
Barry, I have a new book for you. And you probably already thought about it. Because you're ahead of me in so many ways, but you probably 50 ways to love yourself.
Well, the thing is, some of the first book has included that. But yes, I understand the teaching or the idea of that. But the book actually has some things in it. Anyway, that's for another time.
I told you you're ahead of me. I mean, I just lag behind, so that's awesome.
Thank you.
That might be. We just discovered next week's topic. I think. I think it's a great topic for us to discuss. Is not just taking care of yourself, but actually loving yourself and giving yourself the nurturing that you need from you, because you have to give yourself some of that. If you're trying to get it from everybody else, you're never going to win. So go ahead, Barry.
Now I'm thinking about that, not this. Okay.
I'm sorry. Refocus. You can do it. Grab your pug. Pet the pug. All right. Go ahead.
That's next door's frame. There's a quote I love. Well, several quotes I love from Richard Bach in Illusions. He talks about how members of the same family are very rarely born under the same roof. And the thing is that we have sometimes got this whole thing about we have an issue with our family, with judging the family. We can, and I do, create family with people we never actually were born in the same house with, meaning that we can create relationships as rich, as fulfilling, as available, even with pugs, that are absolutely... That's a crazy pug. Try to finish my point now if I can stay focused on it for a second. Okay.
Oh, show the pug. Show the one pug. Come on.
He was chewing on my foot.
Oh, which one is that?
This is Max.
Max, he loves to be in the picture. He wants to see his TT Lynn.
All right. Richard Bach quote, members of the family rarely under the same roof.
So the main thing is, what I'm saying is basically you can have quality relationships with people who you weren't raised with, which sometimes is a good thing. So the idea about, well, if I had a better relationship with my family or something like that, we talked earlier about some of us, don't have many family members left anymore, or we don't connect to our family. That's no reason to feel isolated. In fact, it's a reason to get motivated, frankly. So I'm very passionate about people getting out connecting, like what Tim was doing with his meetup groups. There are social gatherings. You find hiking groups, Outward Bound, other things like that. We talked about this before, I think, in another episode. But the truth is, there are so many ways to get out in the world and meet people. Go feed the homeless. Go do something that's going to work with animals at the animal shelter. You'll meet people there. So if you're feeling lonely, don't know how to meet people, to connect with people, go do something that gets you out in the world. Because, like Rex was saying, it ain't going to happen when you're sitting on the couch. So get out in the world, do something.
Love that.
Make friends. Get out there.
Thank you, Barry.
All right,
Thank
Barry.
you.
Always great. Always great.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Scott Schilling.
Well, it's interesting. I was in Scottsdale for a number of days, and I went from Scottsdale to Salt Lake City. And one of the mornings I went for a walk from the hotel just to like a 7-Eleven kind of place there. But on the way, there were multiple homeless people, that I was walking past and walking between, and all of a sudden there was one guy, fairly young guy. I couldn't even tell you how old, probably mid to late 20s. And he just went, "Good morning, sir." And I was like, well, that was very pleasant. I don't know what I was expecting, if I was expecting anything, and we just kind of struck up a conversation, and we were waiting at a light to cross the street. And he said, normally I'd be asking for money right now, but I'm just really hungry. Is there anything you can do? And I said, well, as a matter of fact, I'm going in here and I got to get some stuff anyway. So let me just get something for you. Just hang out here and I'll bring it back out. He said, well, that'd be really nice. And I said, well, it would make me feel good too. And it's interesting how you can have a conversation with somebody you don't know whatsoever. And as Barry's talking, as we've been going through this, I don't know that I have more conversations that I have at other times in my life, but it kind of seems like I'm having more conversations than I've had at other times in my life. Just having a desire to talk to people and try to impart and get people to open up or have fun, just nothing big. And so it was cool. I went in, got what I needed to get, and came back, and I flipped him a breakfast sandwich, and he was just like, thank you so much. And I said, and the rest of the walk back to the hotel, it was like, that was such an easy thing to do. And it really wasn't a big thing to do either. I mean, it's not, I'm not trying to share at the grandstand or anything like that. It was such a simple, little nothing thing. And he was so grateful that, he said, I don't want you to think that I'm scamming you for money or doing anything for that. And it's weird because you first hear that, and it was 7:00 in the morning. So it wasn't really light, and it was a little weird out. And you go, man, all of a sudden hear somebody talking about money at 7:00 in the morning on a street that you don't know.
The honesty.
And then he just went, as much as I'd love the money, I'm just really hungry. And so the honesty of somebody saying that to you. And anyway, it was just, I think we can do so much, and it doesn't take much to do that. And it was like I was going to go back to my hotel. I was actually going to buy myself something because a buddy of mine has a product in that particular store, and I was going over to buy a product to support my buddy. And then it was like, I don't need that anyway. I'm going to take it and redirect it over here. So if we would just, I think maybe a little more spatial awareness and really see what's going on. And I don't think it takes that much to serve some people. And I think the more that we do that, the more hope people are going to have along the way. So just a thought.
Absolutely. Love that. That moment, you almost, it's such an impact on you and probably on the other person. And it was just that rare moment. You could have missed that impact. Were you not present? Were you not putting yourself out there? How that's incredible. I'm just like, wow.
Love that.
So simple. I was what made me think, the friend that I had to retreat last time he was in Dallas, he walked inside a place, saw somebody outside and said, I'll be right back out, and took him some food. And I said, what was that? And he goes, I'm going to eradicate hunger. And I said, that's a pretty big task. He goes, well, then help me.
Yeah.
love
awesome.
You know,
Yeah.
but
Oh my God.
well,
Don't
that's what I'm
think about
saying though. But that's where his mind was at that time.
Wow.
Mine wasn't. So then the next time I had that opportunity, then it was. That's what I'm saying. I think if we share ideas and we share things like this consistently, you know, again, not for the whatever, you do get plenty out of it. But
Yeah.
I mean, nobody else has to know about it per se.
That's right.
You know, it's just go do it, you know, so.
Kellen, did we do Kellen or Rex now?
Well, we'll do
Rex.
Kellen.
Kellen.
The wag. She's
I'll
doing
let
wag.
you see Max. He's calmed down now.
Yeah. Oh.
Uh,
Mary needs to leave at top of the hour, so.
Oh, mine's brief. It's just like what I had said before. I think it took me a long time to, realize that family isn't necessarily blood. And I think we just need to kind of pay attention to our surroundings and the circle of trust and support that we build, and realize that, that may be my family right now too. So that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you for being here. Kellen Ann's going to be on Find It tomorrow. It's a pre-recorded show, and it's a good show.
awesome.
So check Debbie out tomorrow on that.
That was so fun.
Oh, it was so much fun. I'm looking forward to watching it live tomorrow. Mr.
Rex, how do you put a bow on all this, man?
Well, as a global citizen, I live in two places right now. Currently, I'm in Milwaukee, and I also live in Los Angeles, and then I go wherever I go. But that said, in Milwaukee, there is what's called a pub walk. People go to the different bars, it's a pub walk.
I've been to that. It's awesome.
Yeah, but they started a pug walk.
Oh.
So there's a special weekend now where it's the pug walk and a pug festival and a pug party, and the whole thing is pug. Before I continue, I'm curious about Teodora. Where inside the couch is she? Getting out of the couch.
Yes.
It's,
Yeah.
I think
She's
it's a
crawling
Romanian.
out of the couch.
It's a Romanian
So
term.
that concerns me that you're in the couch, but that's okay. I hope you're all right.
Grab some loose change while you're there.
You're in the middle of it. There
She's
you
in
go.
the
And some
middle.
Cheetos.
There you go. Well, the thing is, we're laughing, we're having fun, we're sharing, we're talking, and everybody's been touched and told stories and provided good ideas and tips and suggestions for what we might do. So why don't we just do that for everybody else? Help them laugh, help them love, help them feel connected, help them feel valued and worth something. Take Scott's lead or Barry's lead and everybody's need, Kellen's need, and make certain that we touch other people appropriately. You always have to be careful nowadays. That's why they
Unless you have permission.
That's the Scott Jones caveat there.
Yeah, no, don't drink this motor oil. Don't use your lawnmower as a shaving device. So,
Eric, you're more than welcome to show up anytime you'd like.
Eric, would be
Message
wonderful.
me.
It's great to have you and see you here.
Join us, Eric.
Absolutely. I sent him a friend request once. I didn't think he didn't answer me. So, oh well, maybe he will now. Oh, and Barry had to leave. So,
Okay.
Bye, Barry.
But I want to make mention here real quick. I have met Ken via the internet, and we are supposed to meet someday. Probably not till next year, depending on my travels. But Ken, yes. So he's a faithful watcher, so I really appreciate that too. We are up at the hour, and we're out of time pretty much. But this has been a great show as always. It's just an honor to spend time with you guys. I just love how you guys show up and share. And
What is it, Rex?
I just noticed that Scott is a coho.
I'm a coho.
He's a
Yeah,
coho.
he's the coho.
I don't think I ever noticed that before, and I'm like, wow, that's a pretty hefty distinction there.
Yes.
Well, listen, after this show, everybody's already labeled me the hoe, so he can be the coho. But I got to tell you something. Those pub walks, they are now called pub crawls. They were renamed after I did one of the walks. So I'm just telling you, that was me. Everybody, great comments. I just want to reiterate that, the greatest moments of my life are the moments that I didn't expect. some of the greatest messages I received aren't the messages I sought out, but the messages that appeared in front of me. If I don't show up, if I'm not talking to people, I miss those opportunities. I miss so many things. I don't want to miss out. Life is too damn short. Life is life's term. It's not mine. It's not my. It's, you know, I get to decide how I'm going to live it, but I don't know when it's going to stop. I don't know when it's going to, you know, what's going to happen. What I do know is that I am not going to live long enough to afford to waste opportunities to learn, to grow, to love, to care, to connect. I've already wasted too much of that time. I don't want to be doing that anymore. People, get up. There's people out there that want to hear from you. You have something to share. No matter how much you think your life is mundane, I guarantee your message means something to somebody, and they've got a message for you. Just go out there and talk to people, you know. And God bless all of you guys. You guys are fantastic. I love all of you. Thank you so much for joining Lynn and I for the show. This is your show as much as our show, and we appreciate the honesty and the integrity that you guys bring to the show. And I love being picked on every Tuesday night, so it's a good thing.
All right, it's a wrap, you guys. Love you. God bless.
You too. See you next week.
Yeah, next week.
Keeping me safe and sound.